Good morning and welcome to the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship here in Durham, North Carolina, on the ancestral lands of the Eno, Shakori, Saponi, Sissipaha, and Lumbee people, whose descendants live in nearby communities to this day. I am Reverend Jacqueline Brett. And whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your race, your gender, whomever you love, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, we welcome you here. And if you are visiting with us today, we invite you to place your name in the chat box, where you will surely receive an ERUUF welcome. And we also invite you in future weeks to join us for our Inquirers class for visitors and newcomers, which takes place at 9:30 a.m. on Zoom. And if you have children, we have a wonderful religious education program for children as well, although I must say that is live and in person here, so you'll have to sort that bit out. At any rate, we are so glad to have all of you here this morning. And as you who are members of ERUUF know, this is a very, very special morning. It is the last day of candidating week, and boy, am I ever glad for that. And I, as I have been throughout this time, throughout this past week, so honored and so privileged to be your candidate for the lead minister of ERUUF. And so it is with that without further ado, we shall continue with our worship service. So let's center ourselves into this time and this place. And let's all together take a deep breath in and let it out. And let us continue with our prelude. The ground shifts, sometimes slowly, sometimes like an earthquake, reminding us that the solidity we often love and seek is an illusion.
The crumbling dust of the desert plains, the moist fertility of farmlands, the eroding coastline of tidal shores are all changing.
Committees dissolve or are created, leaders retire or step away, ministers come and go, bylaws are amended.
New experiences lead to new truths which foster evolution.
The natural course of life always pushing us toward greater understandings of what it means to be human.
Everything about our existence points towards change, flexibility, and dynamic recreation.
And it's hard because change involves loss. Can we hold losses well while not holding ourselves back?
The ground shifts, sometimes slowly, sometimes like an earthquake. Nothing is static.
As we light our chalice this morning, may its flame serve as a beacon for us, a lodestar, guiding our way toward a new horizon. Keep your hand with that. Let's see.
Technical difficulties
It's all right.
or operator malfunction.
There you go. Got it. Oh, press it in first, then move forward, then press forward. There you go. All right. We do this together. And so let us sing together. Our first hymn is number 298, Wake Now My Senses. Tyra Scott, our guest vocalist, will lead us and the words will appear on your screen.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my conscience with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's voice embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
I can hear change humming in its loudest, proudest song. I don't fear change coming, and so I sing along.
I scream with the skies of red and blue streamers. I dream with the cries of tried and true dreamers.
I'm a chant that rises and rings. There is hope where my change sings.
Though some don't understand it, those windmills of mysteries, I sing with all the planet and its hills of histories.
I hum with 100 hearts, each of us lifting a hand. I use my strengths and my smarts, take a knee to make a stand.
I am bright as the light each day brings. There is love where my change sings.
I show others tolerance, though it might take some courage.
I don't make a taller fence, but fight to build a better bridge.
I talk not only of distances, from where and how we came.
I also walk our differences to show we are the same. I'm a movement that roars and springs. There's a wave where my change sings.
Change sings where? There, inside of me, because I'm the change I want to see.
As I grow, it grows like seeds. I am just what the world needs.
I'm the voice where freedom rings. You're the love your bright heart brings.
We are the wave starting to spring, for we are the change we sing. We're what the world is becoming, and we know it won't be long.
We all hear change strumming. Won't you sing along?
We thought we'd awaken to a world in mourning, heavy clouds crowding, a society storming. But there's something different on this golden morning, something magical in the sunlight, wide and warming.
We see a dad with a stroller taking a jog. Across the street, a bright-eyed girl chases her dog. A grandma on a porch fingers her rosaries. She grins as her young neighbor brings her groceries.
While we might feel small, separate, and all alone, our people have never been more closely tethered. The question isn't if we can weather this unknown, but how we will weather this unknown together.
So on this meaningful morn, we mourn and we mend. Like light, we can't be broken, even when we bend.
As one, we will defeat both despair and disease. We will stand with healthcare heroes and all employees. We stand with families, libraries, waiters, schools, artists, businesses, restaurants, and hospitals hit hardest.
We ignite not in the light, but in the lack thereof. For it is in loss that we truly learn to love. In this chaos, we will discover clarity. In suffering, we must find solidarity.
For it's our grief that gives us our gratitude, shows us how to find hope if we ever lose it. To ensure that this ache wasn't endured in vain. Do not ignore the pain. Give it purpose. Use it.
Read children's books. Dance alone to DJ music. Know that this distance will make our hearts grow fonder. From these waves of woes, our world will emerge stronger.
We'll observe how the burdens braved by humankind are also the moments that make us humans kind. Let each morning find us courageous, brought closer, heeding the light before the fight is over.
When this ends, we'll smile sweetly, finally seeing, in testing times, we become the best of beings.
Among the most accomplished and fabled tribes of Africa, no tribe was considered to have warriors more fearsome or more intelligent than the mighty Maasai. It is perhaps surprising to then learn that the traditional greeting that passed between Maasai warriors, Kasirian and Ngera, one would always say to one another. It means, "And how are the children?"
It is still the traditional greeting among the Maasai, acknowledging the high value that the Maasai always place on their children's well-being. Even warriors with no children of their own would always give the traditional answer: all the children are well. Meaning, of course, that peace and safety prevail, that the priorities of protecting the young and powerless are in place, that society has not forgotten its reasons for being, its proper functions and responsibilities. All the children are well. Means that life is good. Means that the daily struggles of existence do not preclude proper caring for their young.
I wonder how it might affect our consciousness of our own children's welfare if in our culture we took to greeting each other with this daily question: and how are the children? I wonder if we heard that question and passed it along to each other a dozen times a day, if it would begin to make a difference in the reality of how children are thought of or cared for in our own country.
I wonder if every adult among us, parent and non-parent alike, held an equal weight for the daily care and protection of all the children in our community, in our town and state, in our country. I wonder if we could truly say without any hesitation, the children are well. Yes, all the children are well.
What would it be like if religious leaders began every worship service by answering the question, and how are the children? If teachers began every class by answering the question, and how are the children? If every town leader had to answer the same question at the beginning of every meeting, and how are the children? Are they well? If every business leader and corporate executive had to answer the same question at the beginning of every workday, and how are the children? Are they well? Wouldn't it be interesting to hear their answers? What would it be like? I wonder.
So let's begin here and greet members and friends in our congregation with, and how are the children? And before we can respond to one another, all the children are well, what actions must we take in this congregation, in our community, in our state, in our Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, in our country?
And how are the children?
Working together, may our children be well.
I invite you to take a moment to join with me in a meditation practice, that of engaging with the mind's eye while sensing with the heart. I invite you to lower or close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. And imagine yourself upon the threshold of this moment. Consider, if you would, what the threshold physically looks like and feels like for you. And from whatever point you are at on the threshold, I invite you with your mind's eye to look up and out and imagine that there is a horizon before you in the distance. And in your looking, connect also with your heart, with what you're feeling in this moment as you look out at the horizon. As you look, see if you can begin to see or sense what is beckoning you and this community forward toward that horizon. You don't have to bring words to it. Simply see if you can get a felt sense of it with that part of you that is beyond words. And just be with that for a moment, taking note of it. And so I invite you to come back to this present moment, opening or raising your eyes and your awareness to the here and now. As beloved community, we hold in our hearts all those who are celebrating joys and milestones and those navigating life challenges of grief, loss, and illness. May we each receive the peace, comfort, and solace we need in these challenging times. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.
Come ye who would have peace. Hear me, what I say. I say, come ye who would have peace. It's time to learn how to pray. I said, come ye who have no fear of what tomorrow might bring. Start praying for a better world of peace and all good things. I said, come ye who still have hope that we can still survive. Let's work together as we should and fight to stay alive. I said, come ye who have love. It's time to take a stand. I don't mind the dues that must be paid for love of your fellow man. Come ye, oh come ye, oh come ye, come ye, come ye.
Good morning. What an honor and privilege to be here today. This reading is from Becoming Resilient by Peggy Clark and Matthew McHale in Justice on Earth, People of Faith Working at the Intersections of Race, Class, and the Environment. Our religious communities have the potential to become models of the future we want to create. Yet the 20th century prototype of congregational life is insufficient for the radical change we face in the 21st century. As much as we may love our Sunday worship, faith development classes, potlucks, and oh, we love our potlucks, and committee meetings, these alone will not carry us into the new age. Life as we know it is dramatically changing. With global temperatures rising at alarming rates, we are already seeing the effects of drought on food systems, rising sea levels on island nations and coastal towns, increased intensity of storms and fires on our cities, and melting ice caps on access to fresh water. Mitigating this frightening trend will require a World War II scale effort. And while such efforts need government support, the real shift will happen in small pockets throughout the world. And unlike World War II, we aren't transforming an economic system temporarily. Oh no, we are transforming all systems permanently. To do that, my friends, successfully, houses of worship will need to become centers of hope and resilience. Resilient congregations will need to be fully engaged in communities. This is a vision some congregations already have for themselves, but very few truly live up to the exciting and necessary potential. We see three distinct reasons for this. First, congregations often focus a lot of energy and attention on themselves, losing sight of the world around them. Secondly, congregational justice work is supported theoretically and sometimes financially by a large group, but the work is done by a tiny percentage of its members. And thirdly, congregations often lack the necessary skills for authentic partnership, especially with marginalized communities. Given these limitations, once we have the vision, where might we begin? We suggest taking time, perhaps in congregational meeting, to help everyone understand the vision and their role in bringing it to reality. And living out this vision might require letting go of other things, some beloved, and some that we habitually spend a tremendous amount of energy on. Any acts of resistance, and I imagine there will be many, should also build community and power. If it's always the same small group, you can only accomplish small things. We must consider how to involve more people, which will probably require multiple paths of engagement. For example, the co-author of this essay, Matthew McHale, helped start a food forest during his internship at West Shore UU Church near Cleveland. A food forest, or forest garden, is designed to mimic a dense woodland ecosystem, which by honoring ecological interdependence is largely self-sustaining. And over a few months, a handful of individuals grew into several dozen who were involved in creating it before a single plant was even in the ground. 3 years later, the food forest is thriving and has been expanded to more of the church campus. Yet, for all its success, this project was still inwardly focused. In order to really live into resilience-based organizing, it's vital to engage the larger community. A food forest planted in one of Cleveland's numerous vacant lots has a different impact than one on church grounds. A direct action done in partnership with a community organization has more power than one organized in isolation. As we move deeper into the age of climate disruption, ecologic erosion, and social upheaval, resilient communities are necessary for our collective survival. Our capacity to navigate change will determine the level of success as we enter into a new reality. Solidarity with frontline communities with a clear understanding of a need for intersectional responses that address racial, ethnic, gender, and economic inequality is critical. Absolutely critical. Without authentic partnership and without clearly understanding the systemic transformation required, our response to the current climate crisis will be inefficient. We are facing an almost incomprehensible emergency. And until now, we haven't had the skills or the vision to adequately address it. Being resilient communities is the transformative response these times demand.
Well, all right, so here we are on this great day of threshold crossing on the cusp of change. How are you doing? I need to take a breath. So I begin this important moment that we share together this morning by acknowledging the foundation upon which our threshold rests. That due to the wonderful ministry of the Reverend Deborah Kerr these past 12 years, our foundation is strong and firm. It is not perfect, nor without its places that require our attention, but it is healthy, even during these pandemic times. It is because our foundation has been healthy that we have done more than merely survive these incredible 2 years. We have, as a community, continued to thrive. I believe we are at an excellent vantage point upon which to build and embrace a bold new vision of our future. In her most recent book, Holding Change, healer, artist, and justice movement thought leader Adrienne Marie Brown says, "We are at a very particular moment in human history, at a period of time when we need to shift away from the competitive, directive, combative, colonial energy of toxic leadership at every level of society. The structures built to pierce the sky, the walls conjured to make the earth a puzzle of combating territories, keeping some in power and others without." She says it is time to move towards ways of being that are focused on listening to each other deeply and accepting each other whole. We need to learn new ways of being in space together that help us see beyond false constructs of superiority and inferiority without asking us to sacrifice what has shaped us. We need to study being receptive and non-judgmental with each other, letting the earth and community hold us until we remember we already belong. I've had the great privilege of conversing with many of you this past week. And I thank those of you who had the time and ability to show up for those conversations. Because as I listened and considered your questions, they illuminated for me some of what's on your hearts and minds. And though nuanced, I noted that there were similarities among all the groups that I met with, which I found to be a good thing because it confirmed what my recent experience has been of this community. That while there is not a blanket agreement on all things, after all, we are you, you are also not steeped in a lot of unhealthy, energy-depleting struggle and strife and conflict, which means you have the capacity to combine your efforts to make a constructive difference during these most critical times when the world needs your capacity and courage to manifest change. Irrespective of the outcome of this day, if there is anything that I hope you take away from the conversations we've engaged in this week, as well as from my words now, it's that this new chapter of change that each of us is heading toward the horizon of will only occur with the best possible outcomes when we are committed to being in relationship and by listening to one another, whether amongst ourselves within this community or with those who will newly enter it full of hope and expectation, or within the greater community beyond these walls where our attentive and deep listening is greatly needed. If we do not commit ourselves to being in relationship in these ways, we will not form authentic connections, and will eventually wonder why our hopes for creating change and making a difference have gone unrealized. As you were invited to do a few moments ago during the meditation, I invite you now to imagine the horizon before us and rest the gaze of your mind's eye upon the children, youth, and parents in the ERUUF community. And as you do so, I hope you'll join me in a show of appreciation for our high school youth group worship associates who participated in the service this morning. It so encouraged my heart to have them here today, and I hope their presence encourage you as well, as I would personally love to see them do a lot more of this. If you're able, show them some love in the chat box or by simply sending good, strong, positive energy in their direction. And of course, there is also the presence of one of the youngest among us, born as others in this congregation have been born during these pandemic times. Ayite Kwame Adam, here with his parents, Na Adam and Chris Macon. And so I ask you now, and how are the children? If there is one cohort in this congregation that I have deep love and concern for and believe we must turn our hearts and attention toward right now, it is in the direction of our children, youth, and their parents. If there is anyone in your life with children who are of school age or younger, I suspect you have an inkling of just how physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually challenging these times have been for most of them. We here at ERUUF have historically had a dynamic and robust RE program, but many of our families are presently not here. I've let the parents I met with on Friday night know that I want to be in conversation with them in the weeks and months ahead, so that we can begin to address what they most need in order to thrive here. We are beloved community all together, not in silos of RE over here and the rest of the congregation over there. It is vitally important that everyone here turn our attention towards our parents, children, and youth in whatever ways we are able. As Na and Chris pointed out earlier, when all the children are well, it means we have not forgotten our reasons for being, our proper functions and responsibility. It means that life is good, that the daily struggles of our existence do not preclude the proper caring for our young. I deeply believe this is no small thing. Our children, our youth, and their parents represent the future of this congregation, and I dare say, the future of our denomination. I invite you to begin thinking about how you might be involved as we reinvigorate our RE program in creative, new, and healthy ways. I do not claim to know what these might be in this present moment, but what I am deeply committed to is that we live into the question, and how are the children? And can readily respond because of our firsthand knowledge that the children are well. Yes, the children are well. I'm looking over at Ayite now, so and he is well and having some fun. Peggy Clark and Matthew McHale, authors of the reading Denise shared, said, "Our religious communities have the potential to become models of the future we want to create. Yet the 20th century prototype of congregational life is insufficient for the radical change we face in the 21st century." As I look out upon the horizon toward the future that is beckoning us, what I see is that we must become, with clear intention, the model of the future we want to create. We have, in these past 12 years, spent considerable energy focused inward upon ourselves. And I believe that was time well spent. There were things that we needed to tend to in our own house, important business we needed to take care of. And as I've said earlier, we have done that successfully, and our foundation is sure and strong. And in that, I also believe that we are by no means complete. We must always nourish the soil of our hearts and commit to tend to the inner work of our community, because who we are being right here is also who we are being everywhere else, whether we're conscious of it or not. This past week, I described to the Justice Ministry and others of you that one of the distinctions of my ministry is that I will be an intentionally justice-oriented lead minister. Well, you can rest assured that my commitment will always be to the well-being of this congregation. I will also partner with you, encourage and urge you to cultivate the resilience to face outward and be in relationship with the community of Durham, the near world all around us. To set aside our personal agendas and be willing to listen to what those who are directly impacted by injustice are telling us they most need, which takes time and listening, building relationships, and cultivating trust. We can begin with great seriousness to understand the systems that are holding injustice and oppression in place in this town and in the rest of North Carolina. Then we can strategically decide what is ours to do. Because as much as we'd like to, we cannot do everything and be effective, though we can certainly do more than one thing. As some of you have come to learn this past week, one of my favorite quotes is by Angela Davis, who said, "We have to imagine the kind of society we want to inhabit. We can't simply assume that somehow magically we're going to create a new society in which there will be new human beings. No, we have to begin that process of creating the society we want to inhabit now." Our justice ministry already has 5 primary areas of concern, which can provide us with a starting roadmap as we begin this journey together with renewed determination and vision. And all that said, I also believe with every fiber of my being that the 2 most important areas of injustice we must counter with the greatest sense of urgency and seriousness, and the science and the data continually bear me out on this, are climate change and racism. As Peggy Clark and Matthew McHale said in Denise's reading, with global temperature rising at alarming rates, we are already seeing the effects of drought on food systems, rising sea levels on island nations and coastal towns, increased intensity of storms and fires on our cities, and melting ice caps on access to fresh water. Think of it, access to fresh water. In my work with the UU Service Committee, we are aware of places in these United States with entire communities that have already been displaced because they are now uninhabitable due to sea level rise. I applaud the efforts of our Earth Justice Action Group. The rest of us must also become urgent in our understanding of these matters, both individually and collectively. And I am certain that our Earth Justice Action Group would be willing to guide us. Lastly is racism. And I saved racism for last simply because it intersects with almost everything else. When we overlay race in this country in just about any situation, including those where people appear to be thriving, there will be disparities negatively impacting the lives of Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Asian, Pacific Islanders, and other people of color. Reverend Care's commitment and resolve to address this issue within our congregation over these past 12 years has been commendable, and I believe the needle is moving just a bit. When I look out upon the horizon, I envision a future ERUUF that is closer to what Greater Durham looks like, in that we are multiracial, multicultural, and radically welcoming. We are actively dismantling the systems and structures that hold the great harms of white supremacy culture in place, a culture of supremacy that brings harm to each and every one of us in this community, no matter who we are. None of us can afford to sit idly by, focused on our own affairs as though this too is not our affair. The multicultural team and change team have been leading the way in this work. And there are some exciting things that the change team has been working on that I believe will be a real game changer for us here at ERUUF. So stay tuned. You will be hearing more about these in the coming months. And in this work, too, we must turn our sights outward beyond our walls, as racism needs to be addressed throughout our city, our state, and country, Whether we're talking about COVID deaths, childhood poverty, affordable housing, environmental injustice, or gerrymandered maps. We have been touching upon some of this through the 2,500 Hours of Love project, which will be complete this spring. This project has demonstrated for us a possible beginning in our efforts to turn our sights to address racial inequity and racism in the years to come. I ultimately hold a vision that together we will expand our capacity to navigate change, and in so doing become a center of hope and resilience that can hold all of these things. The care of children and families, both within and beyond our walls. Our commitments to justice, climate change, and racial equity. These will not be simple tasks. We must take them on in partnership with others. And also, as Clark and McHale point out, living out this vision might require letting go of some other things, some beloved, and some that we habitually spend a tremendous amount of energy on. And we can still laugh together, love together, while we are building resilient, beloved community together. So as I come to a close this morning, I am reminded of the words of two colleagues who, like I, hail from New York City. And they have inspired my heart from the moment I got my call to ministry, and they have been mentors of me in this denomination of ours. First is the Reverend Marta, Valentin, whose beautiful poetry and prayers I have read from this pulpit quite often. As I prepared for this day, Marta shared with me from her own experience these words, which I paraphrase here. She said, "Ministerial polity tells us that we ought to not accept a church that we do not believe in, that we ought not accept a church that we do not believe will enter into and keep a covenant together, that we ought not accept a church that cannot see beyond me and themselves to the larger call that we are aspiring to rise to. Unofficial ministerial polity tells us not to accept the call of a church community whose members we do not love." And I can unabashedly say that over these nearly 10 years of being in relationship with you, dear ERUUF, I know without a doubt that I have great love for you. And the Reverend Cheryl M. Walker said to me yesterday this. She said, "Don't forget to tell them that you want the job." If you should vote to call me today, know that I would say yes. I would be most honored to be your next lead minister. Amen, Ashe, and may it be so. So all that is seen and experienced in this community is due to the generosity of time, talent, and treasure contributed by our members, and also our friends and visitors who appreciate what they experience here and want to see it continue to flourish and thrive. At this time, we'll take up the morning offering. You'll see a link in the chat box that will lead you to our secure giving portal. And if it's easier for you, feel free to go old school and simply mail a check into the office. Meanwhile, we'll continue with our offertory with wonderful singing from Tyra Scott.
Free and easy, it gives me joy, joy, God's great joy, joy, joy. we all work together. Oh, love, love makes us whole. Oh, joy, joy in my soul. Over my head, I hear music in the air. Over my head, there's music everywhere. Up above my head, I hear music everywhere. I really do believe there's joy somewhere. This little light of mine, oh, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, oh, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, 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 let it shine.
Amen. We give thanks. We give thanks for all of the gifts of this beloved community, including the gift of music, the gift of the privilege of being in community together. And we shall continue with hymn number 1024, When the Spirit Says Do. And Tyra Scott will lead us once again, and the words will appear on your screen. And I think she's going to call out some things to do in addition to the words on your screen.
You've got to do when the Spirit says do. You've got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do, oh Lord. You got to do when the Spirit says do. Spirit says do, Spirit says do, Spirit says do, Spirit says do, Spirit says do. You gotta sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You've got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you got to sing, oh Lord. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing. And you gotta shout. You got to shout when the Spirit says shout. You got to shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you've got to shout, oh Lord. You've got to shout when the Spirit says shout. Spirit says shout, Spirit says shout, Spirit says shout, Spirit says shout, Spirit says shout. Spirit says shout.
In closing, I offer to you once again these words of Angela Davis that have so inspired me. We have to imagine the kind of society we want to inhabit. We can't simply assume that somehow magically we're going to create a new society in which there will be new human beings. No. We have to begin that process of creating the society we want to inhabit right now. My friends, irrespective of the outcome of your time of voting today, My hope is that we'll nonetheless commit ourselves to imagine and cultivate the ways of being that will inevitably lead us to create the society we long to inhabit. And may it be so. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be.